Welcome to Love Where You Live, Boulder County, where we have conversations about why it's awesome to live here in Boulder and the Boulder area. And today, I am jazzed to say that I'm sitting with Kelly Newlon, and this is what I know for you guys today, is you guys get to be here and watch me make a new friend, because I don't know really much of anything about Kelly. She was introduced to me by a good friend, Catherine Hall. She said, you've got to talk to Kelly. You have to get together with her, bring her on the podcast. Immediately I reached out and we made it happen. This is what I'll say. This is my intro. What I know is you're a runner and you're a chef. I know that you've done something that almost no one that I know, 0 people that I know have done this. You've made a birthday cake for Julia Childs, but you did it twice. And you've got this amazing company that's called Rad Boulder. And I'm not going to say what it is because Rad Boulder sort of speaks for itself. That's a great name. And then also, from my understanding, you went to the Culinary Institute of America, Hyde Park. This is what I know. But Kelly, thank you for joining us. Let's be friends. Let's get to know one another.
Great. Thanks for having me. It sounds like you've read a few blurbs probably on my website or the internet or something. Yeah, I think, so the official name of my business,
yes,
for tax purposes, is Real Athlete Diets, yes, which Rad is just a little sexier, right? And way more Boulder. And somehow no one in Boulder had the website Rad Boulder. So that was an easy one, but yeah. So in a nutshell, I'm a lifelong chef, and my focus now, after years in the restaurant industry, is feeding professional athletes, endurance athletes specifically. Yeah,
I love that. And actually, I did write that down, that you'd been in professional kitchens as a line cook or a pastry chef since you were a teenager. But let's go back, because I love to do this, because I don't know. We had a fun chat beforehand off the air, but tell me first off, where did you grow up, and what was it like for you as a kid before you started cooking, or maybe you started right away? So tell us about your upbringing.
Gosh. So I grew up in the Midwest, Michigan and Indiana. Okay. Officially from the hometown of Orville Redenbacher, Valparaiso, Indiana.
Nice.
Yeah. But I feel like I started cooking and kind of came to the realization that I wanted to be a chef when I was around 5 or 6 years old. Which I recognize is not the norm. But at that time, so I'm 53, that would have been in the 70s, and PBS always had Julia Child on.
Totally.
Or Yan Can Cook, Martin Yan, who is such a star. So I grew up watching those things on TV.
Yeah.
And that's what lit that fire. And I also started running around that time as well.
Okay.
My first race was on a cinder track.
Yes.
When I was, 5, 6 years old. Yes. I remember being like, I'm going to say out the words out loud, I'm going to be a runner.
When you were that young?
Yeah.
I love that. Did you have siblings?
Yes. I'm the middle of 3 girls.
Okay.
Neither one of them was super sporty or they didn't run. I was that's just what called to me. Yeah.
So, I mean, these are two, again, they're not normal callings. You said that. So you're in the Midwest, living with sisters, and all of a sudden, like, how did you pick up, the show, but how did you actually start? How do you start cooking as a kid? I'm trying to make my kids get a PB&J together. So how did you do that?
Yeah, gosh, it's so interesting. I have some memories of, like just walking out into our front yard, and freakishly we had morel mushrooms that grew like along the line of our driveway, and I knew what those were because my parents taught us what those were. Wow. So I would run out there and pick morel mushrooms from our front yard and bring them inside, and my dad was like, well, I'll show you how to cook them. So we were just eating like morel mushrooms with butter when I was single digit kiddo. I
still don't know what that is.
So if you're a foodie, morel mushrooms are, yeah.
I appreciate good food. I don't name it. So so you're sitting there, you're literally pulling from the front yard. Dad's showing you, mm-hmm. and then you can't say the rest is history. I mean, did you love it early, 5, 6, 7? You're doing it. You're exploring mac and cheese. Did you go? How did that evolve?
Yeah, I remember making truffles for the first time, like chocolate truffles, and I'm sure they were not good at all. But I also have this sort of obsession with chocolate. So, with kids, I don't know if you have children, so I don't know if they'd ever tell you, like, what are you thinking about? And they're, candy, or they're dreaming about these things. I will remember dreaming about chocolate and that sort of thing. Yeah. So I don't know, past life somewhere in me that has existed, and it just never went away.
It never went away.
Yeah, and then I'm fortunate to have been able to take advantage of kind of smushing both of those loves together and creating something that I can pay the mortgage with.
We're coming to that. I can't wait to hear, because now I'm still just a little bit more in the past. If you started running then, and was that like sprinting? Is that long distance running? How did that work?
Excuse me. I grew up a sprinter, and it was one of those, I think a lot of kids are this way. You just want to run as fast as you can. Yeah. Because it just feels so good, Yeah. I would see a field, like cornfield out somewhere, or like a farmer, if the farmers around where we lived had just cut crops, and then there was like a whole field that was sort of empty again. I was like, I'm going to go. I would just go and run as fast as I could in the field.
Okay.
Because it just felt so good.
Feels good.
Yeah.
Did you take that to like middle school, high school competition?
I did, yeah. I was a quarter miler.
Oh, yeah.
And then the 4x4 relay, and whenever they would let me, I would beg, can I run the 100 or 200 in this meet? But they're all so close together, So every once in a while, my coaches would entertain me and let me do that.
I think the 200 goes right before the 4x4, doesn't it?
It does.
Yes.
And there's only, there are only a couple of events between the 100 and the 400. But yeah, I just loved it. It just lit me up, and it gave me a lot of the confidence that I have today to be who I am today. Sport is so important. Yeah, and then sometime, maybe my junior year in high school, the cross-country coach was like, hey, you should try cross-country. I was like, that sounds like a terrible idea. I just want to sprint. Like, how far is that? 3 miles at that time felt like 100. So I did. I was like, all right, fine. Because then you're also if you're a runner, like being able to run, to have a reason to run and not be home doing chores as well, right? Allows you, like, sorry, I have practice. Sorry, I have 2-a-days.
Tired. Yeah, resting.
Yeah. So that was a way to stay in that community that I loved so much, with all my friends who also just understood the practice of running.
Okay.
And how special that was. So I started doing that, and it immediately became obvious. I was like, I have no idea how to run distance. You don't sprint, like, apparently you don't sprint the whole time, right? So that was a humbling experience. I remember trying to figure that out, and kind of trying to wrap my brain around it. Because as a quarter miler, you just run until you drop at the end.
Which you do. You drop at the end.
You just go. Okay. Yeah. There's no increase. It's just flat out, right? So that was really interesting. And one meet we were in, again, I grew up in Indiana. So we went to some invitational in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And up until then, I had only been running and racing on golf courses. Okay. Right? At country clubs and whatever. So we get to this invitational in Pennsylvania, and they start the race in this big field. I was paying no attention, and all of a sudden we're in the woods. We're running on trails and jumping over huge trees and streams, and I was like, well, what is this, man? This is the most fantastic, magical experience. So I was like, that's it, I'm hooked. And that was my intro, Michael, to trail running.
Right.
It's like, why are we not doing this in Indiana?
Yes.
But yeah, that was it. As much as, I kept running just track, and love being on a track. To this day, the smell of an indoor track just makes my stomach, like, I get anxious, because it's that sensory.
Trigger.
But that trail, one race, that was it.
It captivated.
Oh, how can I get this back in my life? So I stayed in cross country, but then I didn't jump back into the trail scene until I went to culinary school years later.
Okay.
And was, just surrounded by mountains and woods and trails in New York State. So
in New York State. Okay.
Yeah.
So high school transition, culinary school, that's obviously where you're going to go, right? You're there. That's in whereabouts in upstate New York?
It's in Hyde Park, New York.
Oh, that's what I said earlier.
On the Hudson River.
Okay.
And on the Hudson River, you walk out the dorm and
Boom.
cliff down to the Hudson.
Beautiful.
That's where it is. Next to Vassar.
Yeah.
Stunning.
Gorgeous,
so beautiful. And surrounded by trails out in the middle of the woods. So I would just every day go out and run trails. And I remember one day seeing an older, quote unquote, older woman who's probably my age at the time.
Right.
Super young.
Yeah.
And she was out running. And I was like, oh gosh, who is that? I hadn't seen anyone else out here. So it turned out to be a woman named Hetty Gold, Madame Gold. She was our culinary French teacher.
Okay.
So I walked into the first day of French class, and there she is. And I was like, oh, that's her. Oh, my gosh. Everyone else was terrified of her. And I was like, I need to meet her immediately. We're going to be friends. She doesn't know it yet. So, yeah, after class, I walked up to her and was like, hey, saw you out there. I'm a runner. I would really love to, what do you know about this? So she introduced me to, as someone who lived in the area, she introduced me to the trail running scene and community in that area of New York.
Fantastic.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history.
And I was like, oh, clearly this is going to be in my life forever.
So this is the history I don't know, which is so fun. So I'm gathering you were a pretty good runner. I'm gathering you got a lot out of it. And now you've discovered your passion. How does that sort of, you leave culinary school, how do you implement it in daily life? When did you start competing, moving around? Because I'm guessing that's what was in your future, right?
Oh, gosh. I didn't start competing in trail races until years later because my focus was so, I just spent $60,000 to get myself through culinary school.
Yeah,
and I had you're very laser focused about that. And the work is extraordinarily hard, physically and emotionally. So for me, running and specifically trail running was a really great way to kind of survive that and have my own space away.
Okay, outlet.
Yeah, so I always kept that with me. And then I ran, I raced a lot of 5Ks and road marathons and that sort of thing.
Yes.
And was like, these are fun and all, but I just can't get this trail thing out of my head. So yeah, I spent the next, when did I graduate? 1993 from the CIA. So I spent the next, 7-8 years really focused on my career, which paid off because I made 2 birthday cakes for Julia Child.
That's awesome.
Dessert for Bill Clinton's second, inaugural ball. So, I've just fell right into, I was really fortunate.
Well done. Well, you worked hard and you were good. So where was that? Where were you living? Where did you move from?
Virginia, Williamsburg, Virginia. Yeah.
Okay.
And Virginia's a lovely state, but I just felt pulled somewhere else the whole time I lived there. And that was sort of undeniable. I'm also really wimpy in the heat and humidity. Understood.
Even though you're from the Midwest, you were raised on humidity for breakfast.
Oh my gosh. Corn. True story. Yeah.
Okay. So all right. So let's just jump here. I want to find out how you got to Colorado. So you're in the DC area, more or less. You're Williamsburg. You want to come out here. How did you end up in Colorado? Trails were calling. Is this oversimplifying it? How'd you get here?
My boyfriend at the time, who now husband, he managed an outdoor store in Williamsburg called Blue Ridge Mountain Sports.
Okay.
And he was also doing a lot of adventure racing at the time.
Gotcha.
He was a really strong cyclist, so he was racing a lot. And both of us just felt like there was somewhere else we should be.
What year was that?
We've lived here 17 years now.
Okay.
Which is so crazy. So 17 years ago. And we had just moved in together, and he had a condo, and we were staying in the apartment I was living in at the time, and he said something up to the effect of like, I should just put the condo up for sale. And I said, well, then we can move to Colorado.
Oh, yeah.
Just sort of jokingly. And he had lived in Colorado, when he was, I think, 18 or 19.
Okay.
And he had to move back to Virginia after a bad car accident. And he had kind of always been wanting to go back out that way. So he put his condo on the market, and the market wasn't good at that point. So we were like, it'll be a few months. Within like 5 days, it sold. And
okay.
We were like, maybe we should move to Colorado. And so we did. We just we had no jobs. We packed everything up.
Love that.
In a truck. We already had a Subaru, if you can believe that.
You'll fit in?
Yeah, so
2007, you're leaving Virginia in the Subaru, all your possessions, and you're heading directly to Boulder, or was it just
to Boulder? Okay. Yeah,
no way.
To Boulder.
You knew?
I had been here years before, like passing through. I don't even remember what it was for. And Morgan had been here. We knew a handful of people out here, maybe half a dozen. But we just felt like we had sort of outgrown the area that we were in, Williamsburg, and so we moved, and we got here in the first week of January.
Okay.
And I remember we initially moved and we lived on 4th and Spruce.
Okay, great spot,
especially if you want to get to know like the town of Boulder, right
there.
And it was I was like, is happening here? It's so windy. I had no idea.
It's either windy or it's freezing, right? It's January, so
exactly.
You're okay.
So yeah, that was a surprise. And I'd been through hurricanes and tornadoes, so that sort of thing didn't freak me out. But I have a respect for it. But the wind, especially as was kind of the bottom of Sanitas, the front side of Sanitas there, it was just like this, like it was in a tunnel of wind. Yeah, it was bananas.
Oh, I know those winds. Yeah, I think everyone listening here. Okay, we feel you. You're here. So first impressions, a little bit like, what have we done? Or were you immediately kind of like, we've got the spot? It's not in my personality to have ever done anything in my life that been like, what did I do? Oh, good. That's special.
So it's either heck yeah or heck no. Like if it's a no, it's a hard no and doesn't happen. But yeah, again, I had always felt pulled this way, and Morgan was itching to come back. So we got here, and it was, I remember, every once in a while someone would say like, oh, what do you think? What are you going to do there? I'm like, I don't know. We'll figure it out. So it's the person that asks you, oh my gosh, how will you survive? That's the person that doesn't get up and just move.
No, they're still there.
Yeah, it was never a scary thing. It was just like, this is what we're doing. We'll figure it out.
And you're 4th and Spruce. You've got an excellent location. What does it look like when you first get here? All it's cracked up to be. You've got a great attitude. Did you love it then? You're like, boom.
Yeah. I was like, oh man, it was like an exhale, Michael. So just, an internal exhale, and so beautiful. And the mountain's right there. We had a bear in the yard like the first day.
Awesome. Welcome.
All the good stuff, right? Yeah, it was really wonderful. And then, like so many people when they first move out here, we skied every day. And then one day, I don't remember where we were, somewhere in Summit County, we got like trapped way, way back behind everything. And it was so windy.
Trapped on the highway, you mean?
No, trapped out in the mountains
while skiing.
Because the weather was so bad.
Oh.
And there was like a little hut up there. So we're like, all right, we're going to have to hang out here. Because we have like a 4-mile ski back to the car. So we get back in the car, and Morgan, my husband, looked at me and he's like, so the mountains are always going to be here. We don't have to ski every day.
Pause.
Yeah. Because at that point we were like, oh my gosh, we had our 5-mile pass. That's which is not an insignificant amount of funds. we're like, we're going to ski every day. And I was like, we don't have to.
Yeah.
We can take a few days off.
You realized it wasn't vacation anymore. You're like, this is life. We do it when we want.
Yeah, also, we're exhausted. Yeah. So then Morgan got a job with Kelty.
Okay. Nice.
Which is how he ended up in the same kind of sort of building as Nicole DeBoom in Skirt Sports.
Right.
That's how we met Nicole, which was
amazing.
Such a blessing. And I was still kind of sitting on like, I don't want to just go and work at a restaurant again. Like, I don't want a parallel move. I want something different.
Good for you.
And I saw something really bizarre one day on Craigslist, and it was a company was going to open a food truck in Boulder, and it was very specific what they were looking for. And at this time, there were no food trucks in Boulder yet. And it was with Hosea Rosenberg, who owns Santo and Black Belly, and is an extraordinary chef in his own right. And he had been approached by Michael Rice, who was the founder of Sterling Rice Group.
Right.
And Michael's wife, Laura, was like, I want to get a food truck going. Why don't we have food trucks out here? So they hired me to be kind of their daily chef because Jose had just won season something of Top Chef and was on the road a lot.
Yeah.
So I was Jose when he wasn't there. We had how big was Rosie? Like a 32-foot Airstream named Rosie.
Okay.
It was really beautiful and lovely. And we were the second food truck. When we finally got up and going, we were the second food truck ever in Boulder County. The first was by Ramy Rossello, who owns Comida.
Uh-huh.
And
what the?
Yeah.
What was it called?
It's just Street Chefs.
Street Chefs.
STREAT, Street Chefs. And it was, the concept was global food purchased locally. So a lot of farms and that sort of thing, which was really wonderful. And I remember telling my husband, oh my God, I'm going to go to this interview and I just can't wait. Like, I hope they pick me. And I was so excited about it. And I came home and I was like, I got the job. And he was like, a food truck? Because he didn't...
He's like, womp, womp.
Wrapping his head around, the old school road coach. I was like, you do not understand how sexy this project is.
That's so cool.
It's pretty amazing.
When was this? What year was that?
Oh, gosh, Michael, let me say...
Ish. You got
12, 13.
Okay.
Maybe more, maybe even more. Somewhere between 12 and 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
And
yeah,
that was my first real gig in Boulder. And it was like, okay, this isn't about anything else. It's just about the food. And we had such a great team, and it just lit my fire. It was like the food trucks are the rock and roll of the food scene. They're just so cool.
So cool. And this is way before any sort of Ray bag. This is way before any of the those bros. I'm like thinking of all the food trucks now. We have 1 million. So that's super cool. How long did you stay there before you decided spread the wings and move?
Well, our concept was to get this truck up and going.
Okay.
And within a year, if we weren't successful enough to start like a fleet of those trucks, then we were going to fold the business.
Gotcha.
And one truck was wildly successful.
Okay.
We had huge lines. We'd be at like Louisville Street Fair.
Right.
It was just bananas.
Okay.
And we closed the project out in the black. We didn't owe anybody any money, but it was not a good business model to start a whole fleet of them. So
Understood.
that was it. It was really bittersweet, but I'm so happy that I did it and that we did it because it was one of the highlights of my career. Yeah.
Fantastic. What a great story. And you're at the front edge of something, which is always the place you want to be. I mean, that's so cool. So, all right, now let's kind of get in here. I want to hear a little bit more about today. So you've got Rad. Tell us what that means, what it is. What do you do? What would you say you do?
It took me a laughable amount of time to come up with an elevator pitch, and I have no idea why. But in a nutshell, I am a private chef that focuses on feeding professional athletes.
And is it only professional athletes?
Mostly.
Yeah.
However, so it's kind of, I'm either on the road with an individual athlete, or I'm on the road hired by the brand of this that sponsors said athlete.
Gotcha.
So I might be at a team training camp or athlete summit sort of thing in Arizona or here in Boulder. But what really got us started in Boulder was doing local events at running stores, climbing gyms, cycling stores. So, and in that, right, as you know, everyone in Boulder is, if you put them in any other part of the country, would be a pro.
Right.
It feels like anyway. So we owe so much to, Runner's Roost in Boulder, which was formerly Flatirons. Right? Trisha and RL are just, I love them. They have such a beautiful heart. BRC, Fleet Feet, when Troop had Fleet Feet, all the cycling stores like Sports Garage and U-Bikes, and I mean, you name it.
All the people.
We would not exist without those, because Morgan, my husband, he would build the calendar out and he would just book me, and I would show up because I was, doing all this other stuff. I'm like, where are we today? And he'd be like, oh my God, we're doing what? We're doing like 8 events in 1 week. And we were just inundating all the stores. And because of that, we've built great relationships with the community and the stores. That's how we got to meet the athletes and therefore the brands.
Right.
And whenever I'm back home and not traveling, my focus is, especially in the fall, because it's a little easier. It seems like everybody's kind of back. But our focus as a company at that point is to do as many local events as we can and just be back and present for them.
Amazing.
Because if it weren't for them, we would never have gotten going. And again, I mentioned this to you before, but this business model would not have worked in Valparaiso, Indiana.
No. Well, I shouldn't say that. I've never been.
Tried, but it wouldn't have been able to pay the mortgage. Or just really be the strong success that it is now. So we owe everything to Boulder.
That's wonderful. And I remember that's where I first saw you, one of those shops, and you were always in the periphery of my mind. I mentioned that too when we first talked. So tell me what's something that's pending right now, a big event you're excited about, or something that is awesome on the plate of Kelly/Rad.
2 things that are coming up. I'm trying to take as much time off this month as I can, because on the first week of June, I'll be going to France with for an environmental project with the United Nations Environmental Program, and we'll be feeding an Australian runner who is going to be running the length of the Seine. And the focus of the project is to report back on the improved water health of the Seine, as France has just dumped millions of dollars into restoring it.
Oh my gosh, what's the distance of that river?
I know, right?
I mean, roughly, it's like a couple miles.
It's just a couple. I believe it's around 480 miles.
I mean, that's cool. So you're a part of that. You're feeding him as well?
I will be feeding her. The athlete's name is Mina Gooley. This is my second project with her. I did an expedition last year with her when she ran 200 miles in 1 year around the globe. Yeah, it's just extraordinary. And I love that work. If there's an environmental component to it, that's good stuff. But yeah, we'll be living, I think we have 2 vans.
Okay.
And half the team will be in this van, half will be the other. It's probably a team of 6, I think, will probably be where we're at. So I have that coming up. That will be the entire month of June. And I think I come back July 6th, and then I roll right into a training camp with Tin Man Elite.
Right.
If you know them,
yes,
they're wonderful. I'm a big fan of them.
Okay.
And then one thing I'm really excited about that I have no effort in other than I'm feeding him is I've been feeding and working with Morgan Pearson, the U.S. triathlon, or U.S. triathlete.
Yes.
And he's going to Paris soon.
He's qualified. I think this weekend we find out maybe another athlete or 2 that but he's already going. So that's amazing.
And I'm just I'm so excited to just, cheer like a ding dong at this. I'm definitely the person who's like, loses their marbles watching the Olympics.
So you'll be there to watch, or you'll watch on TV?
I will have to watch on TV because I have just booked.
Overbooked.
The month of July is it's.
Well, you're doing big stuff.
Yeah,
you're doing great stuff. Where can we follow the Paris thing?
I would say I usually try do a decent job at keeping my Instagram account updated. So if you just go to Rad Boulder on Instagram,
I'll do it.
And then I'll tag Mina in that. Okay. So if you want, you can look at there. But that one is really exciting.
That's so cool. I had no idea. Projects pending. That's big. And then supporting an Olympian, and then all the other Tin Man Elite. They have some incredible runners that are all world class.
They really do. And they're just great guys. I think I met them years ago at the A Lodge in Boulder. And, what struck me was I always have all kinds of equipment stuff to haul around.
Sure.
They saw me, had only interacted with me on email, and they were like, that must be her. And they ran over to me and immediately started hauling all my stuff up the stairs. And
fantastic.
They're such good boys.
Good people.
Their mom and dad did a good job.
Well done. Tell them that's good. I love that. And those guys, it's so fun. What a community. So you've been embraced, built up, your business sort of grown from and due to Boulder. It's a perfect way for me to segue into, tell me about first off, if you don't mind sharing, where do you live in Boulder County?
Sure.
Wouldn't it be funny? You're like, I'm in Denver.
I am not in Denver. Although I love Denver. I'm one of those people in Boulder. One of the things they don't tell you when you first move to Boulder is you'll never leave.
Correct.
Or you'll only go farther up into the mountains, but you won't go to a city again.
Yes.
But so we live now, we've first lived on 4th and Spruce, and then we moved out about a year after that. We moved to East Boulder in like the Gun Barrel area.
Yes.
So my husband's office was out there, and he found himself going out there to ride anyway.
Yeah.
We also had 2 Great Danes at the time, and the quote unquote yard we had on 4th and Spruce was not
suitable.
It was like the size of a dinner table. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started meeting more and more people that became friends, and I found out they lived up the canyons in Boulder, and I was like, wait, why are we not living? I didn't know that was an option. Mm-hmm. Why are we not living up a canyon? So now we live up a canyon. We live above Jamestown. So we're still in Boulder County.
Oh, wow.
But we live about 3.5 miles above Jamestown. So if you ever do Super James or you do Super Ward and come back through.
Yeah.
And we live on the right side when you get to the top of the switchbacks where it flattens out. So we face Long's Peak.
Beautiful. I love that spot.
Unbelievable.
I almost got attacked by a wild turkey up there. And
sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
And no, it was fine. We
have a lot of turkeys.
A lot of turkeys. And there was also this magical farm next to a property that I showed. And I was like, oh, what is this amazing?
Is it a petting zoo?
I think so.
Oh my gosh, that's my road. Those people aren't there anymore.
Yeah, and there was like a angry llama. And the clients and I were like, this llama is either protecting the animals or going to murder me. That's your road. That's a great spot.
I don't know if there's anyone else that has it up there, but we were like, I'm all for living up there because the rules are a little bit different, a little more flexible.
A little different.
But having a sort of petting zoo in that area brings us, big cats in.
Predators.
And so that petting zoo is no longer there anymore.
Thankfully.
But yeah, it's such a great spot.
Beautiful. So that's okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Now, what does for you, and what's a favorite in Boulder? How would you say, like, my favorite? You can't probably call a restaurant out. You get in trouble with your friends. What's your favorite place to go eat or cook or, share with friends or?
I'm not allowed to call a restaurant.
You can do whatever you want. I want to hear it as long as you won't get hurt the feelings of a friend. So
no.
Favorite restaurant, tell us.
Absolutely. And I post about it. I've been pretty open with it. Do you know Brian Dayton? No. If not, you need to meet him. Okay. He owns a restaurant group, and he owns Oak, Corrida, Iota.
No, for sure.
Oak is just such a staple. Love it. Stunning place, right? And then Corrida, if you have not been there, is so stunning, like exceptional. The view, you'd swear you're in Spain.
Totally.
And what I love is Brian is a trail runner.
Good one.
But he's also really just headfirst immersed into regenerative agriculture and using that animal protein in his restaurants. And I admire that so much.
That's so good.
So the restaurants themselves are stunning. The food is top notch, and his teams are just extraordinary. And then the whole regenerative agriculture component, it's full circle for me. And he's a wonderful person. So anything Brian opens, I'm there.
You know what's wonderful is, first off, I didn't know that piece. We've been to all 3 of those restaurants that you mentioned. I love them. And earlier, we were talking with Bobby Stuckey on here, and he told this great story about how his first day in Boulder, he met Brian, and they were doing a run, and I was like, huh? So again, I love this. I love that, and I'm going to try and find him and see if maybe he'll come chat with us. But great tip. So what about, do you drink coffee? Do you love a place that you have to recommend? Because I think we like to hear if there's somewhere you're enjoying pastries or coffees or anything like that.
Well, as you know, we have no shortage of coffee shops in Boulder.
Full.
I've always, been a fan of Ozo.
Okay.
That's a staple. But I love Belleza.
Belleza, yeah.
Belleza, yeah.
Yep.
That's a great place.
Okay.
And yeah, there's that new, I should say new, it's been there probably a couple of years now. I think it's called Suti.
Ooh.
Suti. It's an adorable little house. It's right off of Pearl, and it's on the. Do you know where Sweet Greens is on Pearl?
I do.
So turn on that corner, go down there.
Okay.
Beautiful little house.
Oh, beautiful.
It's probably 800 square feet, and the woman who owns it, it's like the most beautiful Scandinavian little inside you've ever seen, and she's I forget her name, Michael, but she makes shortbread. She's a professional pastry chef, and it is out of sight.
See, that's what I'm talking about. She, by the way, Kelly showed up with a treat for me. She baked it, and I was going to actually go right into pastries. So I'm going to Suti. I'm going to find it. That one I don't
Very
know.
cool.
I'm ready. I might go there after this. Now, thank you so much. I love that. And now what about, because I want to come back into where we started. You were cooking, you're running, you live in an amazing spot. What's your favorite place to run or hike? I imagine you're still running quite a bit, or you still run?
I do still run. I just started running again because I had a full hip replacement last year, almost a year ago, which is staggering to me that you have a whole limb replaced or a joint replaced, and then you walk out the same day. So again, we're really fortunate to have
great spot.
A laundry list of orthopedic surgeons in Boulder that are exceptional. So my favorite place to hike, run, walk, screw around in the woods is really up where we live at this point.
Out your door, or do you ever jump in the car?
Sometimes I jump in the car if I'm meeting somebody, but there's really no
need. That is amazing. What time should I be there? I'm playing Sunday morning.
You can come over anytime. But we live in the middle of a national forest.
It's beautiful.
So there's, thousands and thousands of acres. You might see a turkey. Just a FYI.
Or two.
Yeah. And, there's so many, since we've moved up there, when did we move up there? 7 or 8 years ago at this point. There's so much that I didn't know existed.
That's right. So tell us. So, if you were going to bring a friend in from out of town and treat them to a great trail that isn't your backyard, where would you take them?
It's not my backyard.
Yeah, not your backyard. You've already done that. That was for day 1. Day 2, you're going to take them to.
I would say I'd probably do like Sanitas Lion's Lair, see how they're feeling, and then see if they want to do like Poor Man.
Amazing.
See if they're feeling a little. They need to be. Like jump off the trail and run on the road a little bit. Yeah. Depends on where they're from though. If it's a flatlander, that's a difficult transition. But I love that there's so many options up there, like a lot of little trails. Like you can do this, you can add the Lion's Lair arm, you can scooch down and all of a sudden you're in like Wonderland Lake.
Right.
Yeah, all those little satellite trails.
I know.
And I think that's so neat for people to see.
And they're fixing that. I think it's going to be the Skyline, they call it, or they're going to fix where you can go all the way north to Yoder Ranch, if you knew, like off of Dakota Ridge, North Boulder. So that's going to be completed. Now, okay, I love this, and I'm with you. Those trails are magical. You've given us your hot spots. I'm going to Suti later. What would be, if you were to just say, hey, you know what, I've got the day. What's a perfect Boulder County day for you and Morgan, your husband, Morgan? We'll leave the athlete to do his resting. But so, yeah, you and Morgan, you guys have just got the day. What's it look like for you? Perfect Boulder County day.
Oh, gosh. I would say I'll put it on a Sunday. That way we could do brunch at the Jamestown Merc.
Oh, yeah.
Which is surprisingly like good food. Rainbow's such a great cook. Yeah, and the atmosphere is just super fun.
Yeah.
And we would probably either run or ride before that, depending, because brunch.
Yeah, perfect.
And
You can specifically tell me, like, you're going to run out your back door. I want to picture. I want to actually picture. I want to take some ideas down.
All right. So we would definitely out the back door, cross the street, and go down the hill, which takes you out into the woods into the Sarah and St. Vrain. I don't know if you've been there.
Yes.
Which is really neat. And we have a Great Dane and a St. Bernard, so it's everything around their schedule. But yeah, we would take them out for an hour or two, and then come home and shower and go to the Merc.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I suspect we'd probably just do things around the house. We're constantly doing like fire mitigation and cleaning up the yard.
Yeah, have to.
Just because of where we live. And then if we could do, I would say. Let's say coffee. I would say Belleza or Suti.
Nice. Yeah. After
Suti is so neat. I can't wait for you to go there. There's like lambskin draped all over the chairs. It's just...
I can't wait. I'm going.
And then if I was able to choose, probably Corrida. It would be elk or Corrida for dinner, but Corrida.
The views. Oh, come on.
Yeah. And then I think, I usually try and do this because we live above Jamestown. If we come down left-hand canyon on the way there and over to Old Stage on the way back, then I always suggest, can we go up Lee Hill and go around?
Get a little variety.
It's so beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's incredible. You live in a magical part of a magical area. I mean, really, you do. It's special.
Yeah, I don't ever want to move.
Don't.
I aspire to be like our, for real estate reasons, if nothing else, right?
Yeah.
I aspire to be like our neighbors who've lived there for almost 40 years.
Yeah.
And they're, 80.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Oh, good for them.
So cool. I just don't want to leave. Yeah. When I travel all around the world, I can tell you when I come back from France, I will be so happy to be in that canyon again, just driving home.
You love where you live. That's
I do.
Yeah.
I love it so much. Like I was meant to be here. I don't know if I lived in this area in a former life, but this is where I'm supposed to be.
That's so good.
Unequivocally, yeah.
Wow, amazing. Well, I hope so. First off, I thank you again for being here. I hope we became friends. If not, I need to work harder because I like you. And I'm like, everything you're doing is so cool. I mean, it's just such a cool intersection with that you knew it as a kid and that you're still doing it and you're so good at it. The accomplished chef, running, enjoying outdoors, and then you have that amazing contact with environmental initiatives, everything. I love that. So thank you. I want to say that before.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's wonderful. I know why Catherine introduced us. So moving on, tell us one thing you wish you knew that you now know you'd share with someone that just got here, or maybe they've been here 10 years or 5 years. But like, is there a trick, a tip, anything about Boulder you'd share? Be it a secret place like Suti or a trick, anything, or a person or a step they should take. Does anything jump to mind there to just help our Boulder people?
I love that question. I would say because of my business, I do a decent amount of work with farms, and we have such exceptional CSA options in this area.
Tell us what that is.
So the community share agriculture,
Sorry.
which is great. No, I think that's a great question because so many people are, I don't understand. What is that? Yeah. As if you don't know. We don't know. We don't know. And I love, we have so many tiny little farms around that are really, really perfect to buy produce and that sort of thing throughout the year. But it's a membership. So if you're going to be out of town for the summer, then you have you pick it up every week for a couple months, then it's kind of difficult. But what I have seen kind of popping up here and there, and there's one in particular, this little farm called Backyard Roots.
Okay.
And it's just a private home. It's just someone's home. And the woman who, her name is Leah Cousin, she sells produce. Like she has a list. She'll email out to her members, like on her email list every week. And she's like, this is what I have. This is how much it is. So it's like a bunch of kale. Here's 3 different, varieties of kale. All these tomatoes, all these, whatever has grown that week that she needs to harvest. And you place your order, and then you just go pick up at her house.
That's great.
So instead of going to the grocery store to buy produce, you can support this small business family, which is so wonderful. And the product is amazing. And it's just really cool. It's a neat option for someone who really loves the CSA but is not able to commit monetarily to, because sometimes if they're really long, it's like $1,000.
It's a lot.
Or if you're just like, I know I'm going to be out of town, or this is just how I'm going to buy my produce from now on.
It's called Backyard what?
Roots.
Backyard
Roots.
See, you've been amazing with sharing this stuff. Thank you, because people want that, but they don't know that's a good entry or long-lasting place for them to be. That's awesome. So
I think she's on Instagram as that. But if not, I would just Google Backyard Roots.
Yeah, we'll find it. Yeah.
And
Amazing.
I can send you her contact as well. But yeah, I love that. And I love that Boulder is a location that supports that.
Yes, it is. We're built for you. You said it. You were called here for outdoor, for running trails and great food and agriculture, and also just that sustainability that is so important. So final question. Well, the final question will be, did you leave anything? Did I miss something? But before I get to that gives you a teaser. Think about that. Anyone you think I have to have come talk to us and share their story?
I was definitely going to suggest Brian Dayton.
Okay.
And Leah might actually be very cool of Backyard Roots. Her husband, Kunlong, is the manager at Neptune.
Okay. Oh, fun.
So they just have a really cool story.
Okay.
And they're both athletes. And,
love that.
Oh, do you know Ryan Van Duser?
Well, I do.
I mean, he's about as bolder as...
He's about as bold. Seriously, how is he not on the... No, but I've tried to get Dana, and they're like, I don't know, like brother and sister almost. So,
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And she'll cut. But nonetheless, Ryan Van Duser, great suggestion. Those are both brilliant. I'm reaching out, especially because Brian Dayton's name has come up now 3 times. So, with that, anything that you feel like, well, way to go, Lovato, you didn't ask me this, something to share with everyone that's been with us here today?
I don't think so.
And that's okay.
Yeah, I really don't think so. You've done an exceptional job at just like, I think you know what people want to know about, and that's really special.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, I think you've got an awesome story. I love it. I hope that we can chat again. And I'm not a professional athlete, but maybe one day you'll let me, hire you.
I'm happy to feed you.
I'm starving right now. Always. Listen, this is amazing. Thank you so much for joining. It really has been a treat.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
It's great. And with that, we'd like to wrap another Love Where You Live episode. And until the next one, I encourage you, as always, to go out there and do something that you love.